Hello friends, welcome to our new session on control engineering for 7th semester mechanical engineering students. Now we are going to start with the module 2. So what all things we are going to study in this module 2? In module 2 we are going to study about the modeling of physical systems, that is using mathematical method for models of mechanical, electrical and thermal, hydraulic and pneumatic systems. Means here we are going to prepare mathematical equations for these types of system and find out their overall transfer functions for these types of systems. Then next one, the next topic is analogous system. Here we are going to study about the direct and inverse analogous for a mechanical, thermal and fluid system using the force voltage and force current method. Next, in the block diagram algebra, we are going to study about the general representation of feedback control systems, transfer functions, rules of block diagram algebra and reduction of block diagram to obtain closed loop transfer function. And finally, in the last, we are going to study about signal flow graphs using Mason's gain formula. Okay, let's begin with the modeling of a mechanical system, or very familiar we are with the modeling of a physical system. So under the modeling of physical system we are going to study about modeling of especially a mechanical system. So when we call about a mechanical system, here we come across with the mechanical motions which we use applying the laws of motion or Newton's laws of motion. So when we are talking about motions, the mechanical system will be comprising of two types of motions. One is the translatory motion and one more is the rotational motion. What is a translatory motion? A motion of a body is along a straight line. For example, a bow and arrow. Arrow, when it is left from the bow, it moves in a straight line. A ball hit to kicking of a ball in a football, mostly it will go in a straight line. So example of this one is a apple falling from the tree because of the gravitational pull or a gravitational force. So it will be moving in a straight line. The force will be applied in a straight line. So this one, this type of motion we call it as a straight line motion or a translatory motion. Next comes the rotational motion. The motion of the body about its own axis. So the body will be rotating about its own axis. Example of that one is spinning of the top. So top is going to spin about its own axis. So here we are going to take one example that is a disc rotating about its own axis, that is on its pin or a pivot, and here you can see the disc is evenly balanced. Until it is rotating, the disc is balanced. When it stops to rotate, so disc is going to topple or it is going to go away from its central axis. So this one mainly used, this type of motion mainly used in a rotation of our motors, where it is having the armature and we are having the windings. Sometimes windings are stationary, the armature is rotating. Sometimes the armature is stationary, windings are rotatory as a stator and a rotor. So there we come across with this type of motion, the motion of the body about its own axis. Further to go in detail about this one, first we'll go with the very fundamental, that is the translation motion. Under translation motion, there are three elements. One is the mass, spring and the damper. So to make you convinced, we will be drawing a block diagram of a mass, spring and a damper. So this is a block diagram of a representation of a mass, spring and a damper, or it is very familiar as a mass, damper and a spring element. So here the mass is represented by a block with its mass concentrating at the center. On the mass we are applying a force in one particular direction, and the mass is connected between the fixed end to its end with the help of a spring which is going to retract, and the body is placed on a surface where we are having air as a medium as a one of the friction, or there may be surface friction which is acting below this mass. So that one we call it as a damping. Air also acts as a damper and it is going to resist the motion. Then this is also called as a friction. That one also acts as a damping element. So in case of a translation motion, all these three elements are going to be the key elements for the building of a model of a mechanical system, especially in control engineering. Next. So firstly we'll go in detail with the mass. So mass is represented by a capital M. So we know in a physical model of a mass element, if we are assuming the mass is concentrated at the center of the block, or the concentration of mass is at the center. How we are going to visualize it? So to visualize it, we have drawn one block diagram. Here we are going to represent the block diagram or the schematic diagram of a mass element in a control system. It is represented by a rectangular block, and at the center we represent it by M. And below this we are going to show there is a zero friction. So this is a friction element, and the direction of applied force is given with the arrowhead and showing in which direction the force is going to be applied on the mass, and in the same direction there will be a displacement occurring because of the direction of motion. So here the applied force F of t produces a displacement x of t in the direction of applied force. So force required for the same to bring back to origin will be called as a resistive force, and this force required for the above is proportional to acceleration. From Newton's law of motion, we know that force is equal to mass into acceleration, or force is the product of mass and acceleration. So it is given by an example here. So for example, there is a body, we are applying the force in this direction, then the reactive force or the frictional force will be equal and opposite in the applied direction. So this way force will be equal and opposite in this direction. So the net force acting on the body, or for the body to be in equilibrium, so applied force should be equal to the reactive force. So that is F. So some books use it as a frictional force which is in the opposite direction, and some books use it as a, if it is represented with the mass concentration, it is represented Fm. But both will be in the opposite direction, and this will be proportional to the applied force. So it will be opposite to the applied force also. So the relationship between force and mass is given by force is directly proportional to acceleration. The reactive force, that is frictional force, or here we have represented as a Fm. So M means representing for this mass M is directly proportional to acceleration. So acceleration is the derivative of velocity, so it is called as d by dt of velocity also. So how it is represented. So when we remove this proportionality sign, we get the constant, that is mass. Mass will be remaining constant. So Fm is equal to mass into acceleration. So it can be further written as, for equilibrium conditions, so applied force is equal to reactive force. So applied force is F is equal to Fm. So what we are getting, we are going to get F is equal to Fm equal to m into d square by dt square of x of t. This is the derivative of, double derivative of a displacement with respect to t. So this is also given as, or in some books it is given as d by dt of v also, that is velocity, differentiation of velocity. Next we will talk about the element that is damper or a viscous, or sometimes we call it as a friction. So what is a damper? It is a friction between the moving surfaces separated by a fluid medium, or it may be any viscous medium. So here we represent damper with like this diagram, which is called as a dashpot or a damper. So in this block diagram we can see the dashpot, or we call this one as a damper also. Here this is the damper in which the viscous fluid will be there, or the fluid which will be separating the medium, piston like a cylinder. So here will be the force applied, or it will be fixed at one end, other end it will be movable. So this representation, this end, one end is fixed and the other end is made to move, and when you are going to compress, it is going to. So here the fluid is going to rush from one part of the cylinder to other part, and the flow of fluid is restricted. So hence the fluid will be acting as one medium of absorbing the shock or damping, or it is going to resist the flow of fluid, because that makes it is going to have a damping effect, or it is going to consolidate the system. So the friction is generally shown by a dashpot or a damper, as shown in the figure which I have shown you, and symbolically it is a representation of a friction. In a case of a solid friction also we show this symbolically as a friction element itself only. Okay. Now consider a mask as shown in the figure. We are going to consider a mask as shown in the figure having friction with a support, and it is a constant which is represented by a B. So it is represented, some books with the letter B and some books represent it as C, where C represents or tells about Coulomb's friction. Coulomb's friction notation for friction as Coulomb's C. Okay. So to understand further, let's understand the block diagram of the representation of a dashpot. So in the dashpot we can see one end is fixed and another end is movable. When we are going to have the movement, so this damper is going to having a displacement. So f of t and the direction of displacement will be in the same direction. And to bring back, so what will be the rate of proportionality of restoring it back? So restoring back will be in this direction, that is FB, and FB will be, so the rate at which it is going to restore back will be proportional to the fluid velocity. So it is represented, the FB will be the restoring back force or a frictional force in the opposite direction will be proportional to the velocity. So will be proportional to velocity V. So why velocity V? Because the flow of the fluid will be going through the orifice of this one. There will be small opening, and when it is going to move from here, from this side, what will happen? The fluid from one end is going to move into the another end from a small orifice. So restriction of this flow of orifice will make the system damp. So frictional force which will oppose the motion of the mass, and the opposing force will be, that is opposing force Fb will be, opposing force will be proportional to velocity of the mass. Hence it is given as Fb is directly proportional to velocity. Hence the applied force and the frictional force will be equal and opposite. So we write it as, sometimes we write it as F minus of Fb equal to 0. So it can be rewritten as F is equal to Fb. F is equal to Fb, that is equal to directly proportional. So we remove this proportionality, we bring a constant, that is frictional constant, or we call it as a Coulomb's constant, B or C. A derivative of x is equal to velocity, that is d by dt of xt is equal to velocity. So F is equal to Fb is equal to b into dx divided by dt. So this is for the element which is fixed at one end, and the dashpot element is free to move on the other end. So displacement and the applied force will be in the same direction. This is what is a representation of a damper or a viscous medium. Okay. So if the elements, friction element is between two moving parts separated by a fluid medium. For example, there are two elements, two moving parts. Here one element, one moving part. Here also there is one moving part. So both ends are free to move. So in the previous case we had fixed at one end movable, but in this case there is a displacement x1 and there is a, because of that there is another displacement x2. So friction between two moving parts causing change in displacement or net change in displacement is shown in the figure. So where we find such type of application, here there is a one vehicle, there is a car, and here there is a trolley, and in between we want to have the damping between the elements. So their type of a control we require this type of a system. So friction which will be opposing the motion of the mass m, and the opposing force will be again proportional to the velocity, net change in velocity. So it is given as Fb is proportional to velocity. So F is equal to Fb into b into net change in velocity, that is dx1 divided by dt minus dx2 by dt. So this one is for the damper which is between two displacement element, that is x displacement, that is x1 and x2 between two moving parts. Next we will consider the next mechanical element, that is spring. So spring is a body, when subjected to force it undergoes elastic deformation. So it will, whenever we apply any force on that one, so it will be either elongating or it is getting compressed, and it will to come or restore it back to its original shape. So that is what will happen. So springs stores the potential energy and gives back the energy whenever required. So here we are considering a spring having a negligible mass and connected to a rigid support. Its spring constant E. So its spring constant is given by K. Let's see the figure. Here this is a spring suspended by a negligible mass m. When we are going to apply a force, downward, what will happen? It will change its displacement. There will be a change in displacement in the direction of the applied force. That change in displacement will be recorded as x of t, that is the deformation. So here the reactive force will be acting opposite to the applied force. The rate at which it is going to bring back will be proportional to the change in displacement. So it is because of the property of the spring, hence this is called as a spring constant and denoted by letter K, and it will be in the opposite direction. So it is also given as minus of K into x. So force required for causing the displacement x of t in the spring is proportional to displacement. Hence this is given as f of k is proportional to x, that is displacement. When we remove the proportionality, we bring a constant, so applied force is equal to the resistive force, that is Fk is equal to k into x of t, where k is also called as a spring stiffness constant. So the spring stiffness constant is Newton per mm or Newton per meter also. It is represented as a small letter k. Okay, here is the schematic diagram of a spring element in a control system. So the restoring force is F is equal to k into x, and the displacement of this one is towards downward because of the applied force, that is x. Now let's consider spring with two nodes. Here the spring is connected between two moving elements having node 1 and node 2 as shown in figure, where force is applied to node 1. At this node 1 we are going to apply the force. The applied force is represented by Ft or F. So this is applied force, and for the applied force there will be a resistive or a restoring force or a F R also, or we write it as Fk, the restoring force. The spring between two moving parts causes a change in displacement of the spring. So the net change in displacement of the spring is given by x1 minus x2, and the rate of change in this net restoring force will be equal to the spring stiffness constant k. So the net displacement in the spring is given as x1 of t minus x2 of t, and the opposing force of the spring is proportional to the net displacement, that is again x1 of t minus x2 of t, and this is given mathematically as F is the applied force and the restoring force or the reactive force is Fk, which is in the opposite direction, is proportional to x1 of t minus x2 of t. When we remove the proportionality, we bring the constant spring stiffness constant, that is k, hence given as k into difference between or net displacement x1 of t minus x2 of t, when the springs are between two elements or between two masses. Where we see this type of application is we are having one mass at one end, and in between there we are having the spring, and at another end we are having one more mass. So the net displacement between this mass will be having one displacement x1, and this mass may be having another displacement x2, and there may be change in displacement. Here this mass may be having less inertia and this mass may be having more inertia. So the net displacement is going to make the spring to come back to its original position or to restore it back. Next, we'll talk about rotational motion. Rotational motion is a motion about a fixed axis. A nut loosening and tightening, opening of a cap of a bottle. So these comes under the example of a rotational motion. In such type of a system, the force gets replaced by the moment. So here we are going to use the word as a turning moment. So this moment is about the fixed axis, and it is formed by the product of force and applied force from the fixed distance or force into perpendicular distance, and very familiarly known as the torque applied or a torque. So this is also called as the twisting moment. So let's take an example. So here we are having a bolt which has to be twisted or which has to be turned, so about its fixed axis. So this is the axis of the bolt or a nut which has to be turned. So from this axis, what we are doing, at a certain distance, that is perpendicular distance, we are going to apply the force. So the force applied into the perpendicular distance will be telling the twist or the turning moment applied about that axis. The more the distance we are going to go from the fixed axis or the turning axis, the more will be the torque applied or the turning moment. The direction in which it is going to be applied, that is in this direction, it is in an anti-clockwise direction, the torque will be called as negative torque. If it is applied in a clockwise direction, then we call it as a positive torque. So this is the notation which is taken. So in a rotational in rotational motion, there are three elements. One is the inertia, that is moment of inertia, then torsional spring and a dashpot or a damper. So these three elements, how they have been represented in a diagram of a torsional element in a case of a control system can be seen here. So this is the disc, that is moment of inertia of a circular disc which is represented by J, and it is connected to a shaft, that is torsional spring, which is the property of a rotational spring. So it is represented by K, and the disc is coming in contact with the surface, and in between we are having the fluid or the friction, that is called as a dashpot or a damper. The applied torque is a T, which is in a clockwise direction when we are viewing it from this end. So the direction of view is from here, so applied torque will be in this direction. The restoring torque or the returning torque will be in the opposite direction. For the applied torque, there will be angular displacement, that is theta. So in case of a translation motion, we had the linear displacement x. Here we are having the angular displacement theta. So the restoring displacement or coming back to its original position will be theta dash. Let's begin with the rotational elements. In that, first one, moment of inertia. Moment of inertia is represented by a letter L. What is inertia? Inertia is the resistance of any physical object to any change in its velocity. So if we take an example of this disc which is going to rotate about its axis, if there is any resistance offered by this disc to change in its velocity, then we call it as moment of inertia, or we also call it as polar moment of inertia. So the applied torque will be in this direction, that is in clockwise direction when we are viewing it from this end. So the change in velocity or a change in velocity will be happening in the same direction. The resistance offered due to this applied torque will be the T, or that will be in the opposite direction. So this represents the schematic diagram of a torsional element in a control system, where we can see a disc, a shaft and the friction fluid. So the opposing torque, the torque which is applied in this direction, will be having a restoring or opposite torque. Why this torque will be the restoring torque? This torque will be due to its inertia, and this restoring torque will be proportional to the angular acceleration of that inertia, which is represented by, or which is given by relation that torque is directly proportional to acceleration. So the relationship between applied torque and the restoring torque, the relationship between torque and inertia J is given by here mathematically, that is restoring torque, that is the opposing torque Tj is directly proportional to the angular acceleration alpha, which is equal to mass into angular acceleration, that is m into or j into d square theta by dt square. We will discuss on a dashpot or a damper. A dashpot is a mechanical device. A damper or a dashpot is one which resists the motion via viscous friction. So here we can see the schematic diagram of a dashpot. So this is how we draw the dashpot, and it is represented by B. In this figure we can see the one end of the dashpot fixed, the other end is free to rotate. The applied torque here is in a anti-clockwise direction when viewing it from this end, and there is angular rotation theta in the same direction. So the resulting force will be proportional to the velocity but acts in the opposite direction. Hence it slows the motion and absorbs the energy. So dashpots will be making the system to get damped. Hence it is commonly used in conjunction with the spring, which acts to resist the displacement. Here we can see there is an angular displacement which is happening. For the applied torque T, there will be a reactive torque Tb in the opposite direction, but the rate of reactive torque Tb will be proportional to velocity. Why velocity? It is the fluid which is resisting to flow from one part of the chamber to another part. So that resistance of the flow will be because of the rate at which the flow is going to occur. So hence it is directly proportional to velocity, which is given by here mathematically as the applied torque T is equal to the reactive torque Tb, that is equal to B into d theta T divided by dt, where theta is the angular displacement. If we suppose have the two ends free for displacement, the displacement due to applied torque on this end is equal to theta 1, and the another end, the twist, is theta 2, then the reactive torque will be directly proportional to the net displacement of the change in velocity. So that is given as T is equal to Tb is equal to B bracket d theta 1 by dt minus d theta 2 divided by dt. This is for the case where the two ends of a damper elements are free to rotate. To help us to know where the damper or dashpot is placed in case of a spring, mass and a damper system, and how its influence will be there. So here we can see a diagram of combined elements of rotational elements, that is mass, spring and a damper. When this is going to rotate and displace, so this is going to reduce the oscillations whenever the energy is released from the spring. Mainly it absorbs the energy or slows the motion of energy released due to the energy getting stored in the spring or due to the potential energy of the mass which is getting released after the load has been released. The next important element which we are going to discuss is the torsional spring, which is represented by the letter K. A torsional spring is a spring that works by twisting its end along its axis. It is an flexible elastic object that stores mechanical energy when it is twisted. Means it is going to store the potential elastic potential energy, and it gives back its energy when it is getting untwisted. So if a torque is exerted on the spring, or a twisting moment is exerted on the spring, so it will try to restore back to its original position. That is what we call it as a resistive torque, and this resistive torque is proportional to the amount of twist that has been occurred on the spring element. For example, if we take the spring which is fixed at one end, this is a diagram of a coil spring, and it is twisted in a anti-clockwise direction. When we are viewing it from this side, the applied twist or applied torque will be like this, and relatively there will be change in displacement, or there will be change in angular displacement. If specifically we have to tell in case of a torsional, that one is represented by theta, and for restoring it back or coming it back the opposite direction, there will be a twist that will be proportional to the rate at which the angle has been twisted. That one we represent it as Tk. So here the momentum which is going to act at the end of the twist is going to represent it. So the force is going to be perpendicular to the axis of the twist. The force will be proportional to will be perpendicular to the axis of the spring, hence the momentum will be acting at the end. Far away the distance, more will be the momentum acting on the spring. So the restoring torque Tk is directly proportional to angular displacement, which can be given as T equal to applied torque, that is equal to restoring torque Tk, that is equal to K into theta, where K is the spring stiffness constant, and this spring stiffness constant depends on the type of the material. For different type of material, there will be having different rate of spring stiffness. If we consider a torsional spring at which is having both ends free, or we are going to have an angular twist on the both ends, then the restoring torque or the resistive torque is given as Tk is equal to K into the net change in angular displacement, that is theta 1 minus theta 2. So this is for the torsional spring which are free at both ends and having a displacement theta 1 and theta 2. Where we find this type of application is whenever we are having two mass blocks. In between the two mass blocks, here one mass block and here one mass block, in between the two mass block we can see this type of twist, or we are going to see this type of action. Next, here we need to have analogous elements between the translation motion and the rotational motion. This table helps us to understand the analogy between the translation motion and the rotational motion. In a translation motion, we use the mass as an element, and in rotation we use the polar moment of inertia or inertia. Representation of mass is m, inertia is j. In a translation and rotational, we have the friction, so both are represented by B, and in translation we are having the spring, these are represented by K, and in translation we are having the applied force, and in rotation we have the twisting force, that is the torque, and in a translation we have a linear displacement represented as x. Rotational we have the angular displacement, that is theta. Here in translation we have a linear velocity, that is v, equal to dx divided by dt. Rotational it is read as angular velocity, that is omega is equal to d theta divided by dt. In a translation we have the linear acceleration or acceleration d square x divided by dt square. In rotational motion we have angular acceleration represented as alpha is equal to d square theta divided by dt square. So these analogous elements are quite helpful in building the mechanical, physical model systems and doing some analogy or analysis with respect to these elements when we are considering the application of different control elements. Okay, here we'll conclude. Thank you.